Engelhardt, Grand Prix Dressage rider. Today's tip is how to ride an effective canter. So with the canter, the most important thing to get a good canter is how you set up the transition, how you set up the trot. You want to make sure that you've got your balance. You want to make sure that you're even over the horse. You want to make sure that you've got your connection with the horse from the contact and from the seat. Make sure that he's accepting of those two. If it's getting a little bit unbalanced, fix that first. You want to make sure that the trot is going forward without running, and definitely without running on the forehand. Don't look for a canter out of a really mincy, short-stepping trot. Have him forward so that he can use his back in the transition, and you'll get a better quality of canter out of it. When you're in to ask for the canter transition, be careful of the timing. You want to make sure that you ask for the canter when the horse's inside foreleg hits the ground. If you ask for it at any other time, he will possibly go onto the incorrect lead. And it might take you a while to get that timing right, but you'll know when you get it right, because he'll either complain about going into the canter or he'll just go into the canter nicely. For those of you with more experience cantering, be really fussy about this timing, because in the canter you want that first moment, you want his withers lifting and his shoulders free, ready to let his forelegs step forward. So make sure the trot is nice and set up like that. Once you've taken your canter transition and the horse is in the canter, he is either going to then bulge his shoulder, so he might bend his neck a little too much to the inside. If that happens, what's going to happen is that one of your reins is going to be loose and the other one is going to be tighter. So make sure that your seat stays in the saddle and that you can straighten his nose so that the horse's nose is in line with the centre of his body. Once you get that, then that will stop the shoulder bulging. In addition to the bulge, he might drift. So use your outside rein and a bit of outside leg if you need it to act like a wall. You want to make it clear to the horse that this is the line you're on, not over there. Over there is not acceptable. So you can give him, you could give him a half halt just with your outside rein, and don't be afraid to make that a little stronger if you need it. So you want to make sure that he doesn't bulge, you want to make sure that he doesn't drift. The other thing he might do is put his quarters in. So again, that's your outside rein. So lots of, the outside rein is just such an important part of riding in your dressage. You want to then, so you're keeping him straight, keep your centre of gravity with his. He might take, if you're a little behind the movement, he might take that as a downwards transition. You might not mean that. So stay with him. If you get a bit too in front of the movement, he will probably go faster. So think about the centre of gravity, keeping that with the horse. You want to, when you do canter, don't go for too long. Don't canter too much. Because if you canter too much, his muscles will get fatigued, and then his downwards transition won't be of a very good quality. So if you don't canter much at all, normally, aim to do one circle or almost a circle. That's plenty. And do your canter circle, come back to trot. Set him up, do it again. So if you do endless circle after circle of canter, it's going to fall apart, and it's going to fall apart quickly, and you're going to wonder why. For those with more experience cantering, if you're a regular canterer, then you can start putting shapes and lines together. So set up the canter, into your canter, do a whole 20-metre circle, and then down the long side. And then at the other end, do another 20-metre circle and come back to your trot there. If you want to increase the difficulty again, make your circle a little smaller. Do a 15-metre circle, go down the 3/4 line. The 3/4 line, that will really highlight where your horse drifts. And if you've got a clean arena, you'll be able to see the hoof prints. So again, outside rein to prevent the drift. If you want to make it really difficult, 10-metre circle down the centre line. The things to avoid when you're cantering is again cantering too much. When you go on and on, his wither starts to drop, and the transition down to the trot will be really, really unbalanced. You really don't want to do that. With your upper body, make sure that it's nice and tall. Some riders start crouching, where their upper body starts curling over the top of the wither. That again will push the wither down. Horse will go onto the forehand and start running and probably drop into the trot. You want to make sure that the upwards transition is really balanced. So if the horse starts running in the trot, you want that trot to stay the same. He has to do it out of the trot that you've set up. So the horse isn't allowed to run before he canters, and he's not allowed to back off and pop up. When they pop up, they can take really short strides, and the canter's not going anywhere. So watch out for that and avoid that if you can. If you take all of these ideas, your horse should have a nice forward balanced canter, and he should have come into the canter out of a good transition and use a good transition to go back to the trot. So if you've got any questions or suggestions for future tips, don't forget to put those in the comments below. Thanks for listening, and I'll see you next time.